Internet, what is up? This next episode of the podcast is brought to you by me and our Patreon channel. So, in case you didn't know, we have a great group of patrons over on Patreon. Very small but intimate group. So, I would love to get more of you over on Patreon because social media is going that direction. Pretty soon, we're all going to be paying for our social media. And if you're not paying for social media, well, then you're not a customer, you're a product, and they are stealing your data. So, in order to prevent that from happening, come on over and join us at Patreon. What do we have? We have four tiers over at Patreon. So we have, the first tier is called the Assembly Area. It's $3 a month, people. I mean, that's a deal. And in that, you're getting posts, photos, and articles. And yes, I do write. I am a published writer. Once upon a time, I used to write for a magazine back in the day that was industry related. But I do write. I do put thoughts down, so it's kind of like where I blog. And we put up posts and videos also. So we have some fun things going on over there. So that'll basically get you your foot in the door at $3 a month in the Assembly Area tier. Underway tier is the second tier. It's $5 a month, and it gets you the posts and the photos and articles. But it also gets you access to our full-length, ad-free videos of the podcast. So instead of putting that stuff up on our YouTube channel, our analytics didn't lie to us and we just weren't getting any traction with the podcasting stuff on YouTube, but people really do enjoy watching it. However, it is a massive time burn for editing. So we like to monetize that time as much and as best as we can. So for $5 a month, you can watch the full video podcasts with no ads. Okay, next tier is Patrol Base at $10 a month. You're getting the posts, the photos, the articles. You're getting sponsor discount codes. You're getting exclusive access to the full-length podcast video interviews. In addition to that, you're going to get access to the Signal group chat, which is where all my great patrons are hanging out, is in that Signal group chat. They're great people. We have some amazing discussions and some fun, stuff that happens in the Signal group chat. It's definitely worth it and worth your time to show up in the Signal group chat. Filled with all kinds of great people. Can't say enough good things. Love my patrons to death. The top tier is $25 a month. Posts, and that gets you posts, photos, and articles, gets you sponsored discount codes, gets you exclusive access to the full-length video podcasts, gets you access to the Signal group chat, gets you access to the monthly live Q&A, and gets you access to bonus video episodes called Tradecraft, where I basically will break down a technique, a piece of gear, or a modification of either one, as kind of like a tactical hack channel where you have different types of things that we can hack to make easier or better or work more effective. So you get those little videos too, and those are called the Tradecraft videos. So that is what's included in the top tier. So come on over. We would love to grow the channel on Patreon. We'd love to have you guys over there with us. So come on over to Patreon. And a quick shout out to all my patrons. Special thanks to Saren, who sent me some titanium. He sent Kato and I a set of titanium chopsticks because he knows Kato's Chinese, so that says it all. But I am an Asian aficionado, and I do love me some ramen and some Thai and some Chinese food. Like I love the pork buns, the duck. China, they just do duck really, really well. So anyway, he sent us some titanium chopsticks. So thanks for that, homie. Appreciate you. When I'm done eating my bowl of ramen, if somebody starts some shit and they want to play a game, fuck around and find out, I can stab them in the eye with my chopsticks. Super effective. Part of my EDC. Going on the belt next to my blade. Next to my Winkler Williams collaboration blade. Okay, people. Well, you know what time it is, and it has been a minute, and we're gonna do a deep dive. This I'm gonna warn you right now. This Weapons Free Wednesday, I feel like it's gonna get a little spicy because there's a lot of topics to catch up on. So without further ado, let's fucking go.
Cause I'm so fucking good. Get some, baby. Get some. Get some. Get some. Get some. Get some. Come on. Get it. Come on. Get some. Get some. Yeah. I got you, brother.
Okay, well, here we are. Weapons Free Wednesday. What the fuck are we on? 64?
We're changing the numbers, so
We are.
Check the link in the description below.
Yeah. Okay. So people, I guess we'll just kick off with that. We have a public service announcement. We are shifting gears because we've noticed some things now since we've been doing this for 2.5 years. Actually, we're closer to our 3-year mark. We're closer to our 3-year mark than anything because our 3-year mark will be effectively in July, which is when we started this fucking goddamn pirate ship. We're going to just switch our episodes to numbers. Like we had things broken down where we were doing like EP or episode was a guest and the little like hashtag with the number, which is also the number sign. Number whatever, 64, 65, whatever is usually a Weapons Free Wednesday. And we did that one to like keep the episodes, I think, organized for ourselves in post with editing and what we were doing and keeping track of things.
It worked at the time.
But where we're kind of at now is like we've noticed with like our travel schedule and like which we're going to address, like when I'm out of pocket or he's out of pocket and we're both traveling and we can't get an episode out or we can't sit down and then like we don't have a guest. Like currently we don't have a guest lined up, which is my fault entirely. But we don't have a guest lineup. So we're doing a Weapons Free Wednesday, but because we flip-flop back and forth like that, it's a hassle and it fucks up.
The numbers get askew and then our OCD has an aneurysm
our OCD fucks up and we can't deal with that because we like to keep things nice and symmetrical. And episode 51, Weapons Free Wednesday 51. Like we like to go down the road like that. And it's becoming a huge fucking pain in our ass. So what we're going to do is we're just going to switch over to numbered or episode everything. So combined episodes, what do we got right now? If this is 60, we're at like 128 episodes total, I think, right now. If this is 64, if this is Weapons Free Wednesday 64, then we're at, I think, 128 total episodes. So we'll switch over to that.
This would be Weapons Free Wednesday 65.
Oh, okay. So then we're at 130 episodes total. So just be on the lookout for that, people. Just pay attention.
It'll change. It'll still come out at the same time.
I know it's going to be a huge inconvenience for all of you to like maybe read the copy that we write underneath the reel because apparently nobody fucking does that anymore because you're all a bunch of freaking brainwashed, real death-scrolling freaking monsters these days. Like, just read the copy, people. I know it takes like that extra 3 seconds, but maybe just like go underneath the reel, read the copy.
While you're listening to the reel.
Yeah, while you're listening
read the copy.
Yeah, just read the copy. And for those of you that don't know what copy is, because that's an industry term, that's what we write in the post underneath the reel.
I mean, we could have just called it read the post too, but I guess.
Okay, well, we're fancy. I'm going to polish off the Green Dragon Sherry. I'm going to take the opportunity to do that. Thanks to our friends over at Sons of Liberty Gunworks. That bottle lasted us 5 months.
Yeah, it was 5 months of well, there's a gap in the podcasting, so we didn't have some for a while.
All right. Yes, and so like let's address that 1,000-pound gorilla. God, that's good. Okay. So I was over in Australia, and you were
Over in Hong Kong.
And we both had crazy things going on. You're trying to have a visit with your parents and renew all of your Hong Kong credentials.
Yep.
And I was eyeball deep in packing up Kate to move to Las Vegas, which has been a real fun. That's a fucking real fun. We're having some real fun, people. Having some real fun. We had a amazing last couple of days, and I'm just going to go ahead and talk about it. And I love you, Kate, very much. You know that. But last couple of days were not especially fun. Kate had a little bit of a meltdown because
a tiny bit.
I mean, yes, on the grand scheme of things, it was a tiny bit. Kate had a meltdown because, and I get it, like she's doing big things. Like she's lived in Australia for like 19 years now. She got her Australian citizenship. She's from the UK originally. She got her Australian citizenship. She got her Australian passport this last year. And so we just kind of took a look. She's, for those of you that are just tuning in and haven't been following along, she's a professional fighter and a really good one. She's ranked 3rd in all of Australia, and she's ranked 25th overall in the world for women's welterweight. So she's a professional fighter, and we just kind of took a look at what was going on with regard to her career trajectory and kind of some of the challenges that are involved in the boxing community and industry in Australia. And not only that, her apartment the lease was coming to a close, and they jacked up the rent ridiculously again. Like her rent in the last 3.5 years that she's lived there, her rent's gone up 120%.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Could be worse.
with the challenges around like where her boxing career is going, and if she were to stay and continue to pursue her career in Australia versus coming to the United States, where like combat sports are like, we take our combat sports
a lot more seriously.
a lot more seriously than they do in Australia. Our training's better, our fighters are better,
Better
and
support system.
our support system's better, our sponsors are easier to work with, and there's just cultural nuance here. And so when we took a look at the grand scheme of things, I proposed to her, hey, we should move to the U.S. and you should go to Vegas to our fighting mecca, and you should pursue your fighting career from Las Vegas. And she liked that idea, especially since our rent skyrocketed and we were going to have to move out anyway. Had the rent not jumped up like it did, maybe we would have chose a different course of action. But the way the rent jumped up, and we have to move out anyway, it just made sense. So in that process, as you guys know, moving is extremely stressful.
Oh, yeah.
It's even more stressful when you're like moving to a different country and a different continent on the other side of the world. And I know all of these things because, well, in fact, I did that last summer. I sold my stuff. I packed up my place. I put whatever was left that I didn't sell into a storage unit, and I moved out of my place and I moved around the world.
Yep.
So I know exactly what that's like and how much that sucks. And you helped out with that little journey, and so you saw exactly how stressful that is. Now, add a woman to the equation there, and we all know, like, it's no big secret, fellas. We all know like how emotional women get, and sometimes it just doesn't go our way. Well, like a lot of times it just doesn't go our way because we're fighting the emotional dragon that has been spawned by our better half over things that are probably not to us that big of a deal, but to them are like tier 1 emergencies. Like
The world is ending.
we're at DEFCON 5
Yep.
because we had to put the cat in a fucking container and ship the goddamn cat because she's got an emotional support cat. It's great. She loves her cat. The cat's great. I like him because he's kind of an asshole like me. He doesn't like people, and he won't let you pet him unless he really loves you and trusts you. And I'm kind of I get it. I'm like that same way. I'm like, if I don't know you and I don't trust you, bro, like, back the fuck up off me. So like, me and the cat get along extremely well.
This is the only cat you've ever liked.
It's the only cat I've ever really liked. If I'm being completely honest, like, I'm not a cat person. I'm a dog person. Cats, I just think are cunty little animals that just have conditional love. And dogs are just like loyal, always happy to see you, always like want to cuddle, always want to like hang out, always want to go do things. Cats are just not my favorite
They're
creatures.
little cunts.
Yeah, they're little cunts. So, but I have grown to love Kate's Jack. I do love him. Now, am I going to be emotionally compromised because we have to like ship him like a piece of luggage around the world? No, because that's just what we have to do in order to continue mission. However, this was a huge problem that created a massive amount of separation anxiety with Kate, which, okay, fine, I get it. So, Jack was the only thing she had in her life for a really long time. And so I completely understand and sympathize with that. But however, she is super stressed out. I was not being a good partner because I had to handle my own things here in the States. Like I left Australia. I pretty much helped Kate do about probably 95% of the move out in the packing and the moving in Australia. And then I had to leave early to come back to the States because I picked up a contract with my good friend, basically helping out with tech advisory and being an extra in a Warner Brothers movie, and a major one at that. And I can't discuss the details of it because I signed a non-disclosure agreement, but that's happening, which I actually get on a plane tomorrow and go back for another round of shooting and filming for the next couple of weeks tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock.
I can't wait till the world sees you play a seal.
I mean, we're not seals. let me just clear that up real fucking fast. We're not seals, okay? And I can't go into detail on like what we are, okay? Because that's non-disclosure stuff. But like, you can rest assured. Yes, are we multicam clad commandos? We certainly are. But are we Navy SEALs? No, we are not. So, and I cannot say any more than that. But anyway, getting back on topic, I had to come out here and do this. So obviously, I'm busy with work. Kate's back in Australia doing the final like pack out, getting the place cleaned, getting the cat boxed and shipped off. And yeah, we had a little bit of a heated conversation over some business issues that we were not seeing eye to eye on. And I was actually at my friend's place as a guest, and we were in the middle of cooking dinner. And so I just elected to end the conversation, maybe not in the best way. I did not just hang up, but I was super pissed at the end of it and just needed a timeout. And so I just said, hey, I got to go, and hung up the phone. Well, that basically triggered the avalanche that was already building, the emotional avalanche that was already building up on her end, that I didn't know, what was going on. And realistically, like, here's what I'm going to say. Guys are already at enough of a challenge with women with the whole, and this is a thing that in relationships that fucking piss me off. It's a dynamic in a relationship that pisses me off to no end, is when a woman says, well, you should just know. No, I shouldn't fucking just know. I don't have a goddamn crystal ball, and I'm not a fucking mind reader. So maybe open your mouth and communicate like an adult and tell me exactly what you need in that moment. That's kind of how I roll. And so she was just feeling a little bit alone and unsupported, and was super emotional about the cat getting boxed up and shipped off. And we ended things on a heated conversation. So she melted down, had a complete meltdown, and then proceeded to get on her YouTube page, because she does this day in the life thing on her YouTube, and proceeded to tell her entire audience that in fact we broke up, when in fact this was news to me, and I found out by like watching her YouTube channel that we in fact broke up. Which, this is, it's life in the fast lane.
I mean, that's impressive, because most people just get dumped via text, but you got dumped via YouTube.
Yeah, I got dumped on YouTube, apparently. Didn't even get dumped, but I got dumped. So anyway, you can imagine how that sat with me, and it wasn't good. And so we had to spend the last couple of days sorting that out. Yesterday, finally, everything got sorted out. We fixed things, but yeah, life's bumpy sometimes. So in the spirit of like being completely transparent, and the fact that Kate and I both live very public lives on social media, like, it's just, it is what it is. So anyway, I love you, babe. Love you. And I'm glad we got everything worked out. I'm sorry that I was being a shit partner and not paying attention to where your emotional state was, as I was just carrying on with mission. And realistically, like, here's what I want to say, though, in my own defense. It's really hard, and I hope some of the guys out there can sympathize. If you've got a alpha female, if you're in a relationship with an alpha female, I mean, it's just hard enough to walk the line on like keeping your wife, your girlfriend, whoever happy. But when you've got an alpha female, it's really tough sometimes to distinguish between, hey, I need to be loving and supportive, and like, she's in her feminine energy right now, so I need to be like, crank up my masculine side, and I need to be like loving and supportive and kind and be there and be a good listening ear, be emotionally supportive, versus when I need to fuck off because she's a very capable, amazing woman that can definitely handle her own shit. So like, sometimes that line gets like really blurry, and I don't know sometimes what I'm supposed to do and when I'm supposed to do it. So we had that talk yesterday, and I think she understands now my side of the equation, where I'm like, hey, sometimes I don't know what the fuck to do with you. I just don't. Sometimes I don't know, like, whether you're like want to be a boss bitch that day and you want to go out and crush the world, or whether you want to fucking melt into a little puddle in my lap and cry while I stroke your hair because the cat got put in a fucking box and shipped to the fucking UK. Like, I don't know, okay? We're talking about someone who knocks bitches out, but then also ugly cries over her cat. So
You should just know, bro.
yeah,
You should just know.
You should just fucking know. Fucking fuck. All right. Fucking people. Feel free, you know what? Feel free to drop into the comments and tell whatever stories you'd like to tell. Or just, you know what? Just, if you're like, yeah, bro, I get it. Just, you know what? Drop in the comments. Give us a like. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a fucking high five emoji. Whatever the fuck. Just to keep the algorithm going. Okay, so yeah, that happened, and that was exciting. So I was in the middle of like, while you were in Hong Kong, I was in the middle of doing my thing with Kate, getting the place packed out. We didn't have any guests lined up. We pretty much put out everything that was in the can, as they say. We had a bunch of episodes in the can. We published all those. They got out, and then we just couldn't. Neither one of us had the time or could connect to sit down and bang out a proper Weapons Free Wednesday, because I literally finished like packing out, had to leave to come back here early, and went right into work. We wrapped our first section of shooting, and now I'm back.
Yeah,
And
I got back from Hong Kong, dealt with clients, then you got back, dealt with your clients, and like, hey people, now's where you get one.
Yeah.
Deal with it.
Which, I mean, everybody knows, and if you're just tuning in and you don't know, I'm going to enlighten you. We promised ourselves at the beginning of this endeavor that we were not going to become slaves to our content strategy, and we were not going to feel super, super traumatized if we don't put out an episode on time every single week, because we have a lot of things going on over here. A lot. Like, we're not just some of my peers in the industry who all they do is do public speaking and do podcasts, and that's it. And that's their life. Like you and I are very dynamic, and we have many, many other things going on in many other categories, and we just don't always have time.
And this is what we do for free.
Yeah.
For you guys.
Correct.
So
yeah, it's free content for you guys. So I don't feel terrible, when we get huge sponsors that are on the podcast and they're actually paying us to good chunks of money to put these episodes out, then we will make sure that we hit all of our deadlines. But until that day, we're not going to cry ourselves to sleep at night if we don't get episodes out on time every single week, day in or week in, week out. It's not going to happen. So if you are listening to the podcast and you're fans of the podcast and you listen to it regularly, you guys already know this. But if you're new, and we're happy to have you over here, just be advised. Like if we don't post an episode, it's because we have about 15 billion other things going on, and we will get back to it when we get back to it, which is here we are. We're back to it. So, and what a crazy time to get back to it. There's so many things that have popped up in between the time I wanted to record an episode. Like if we back up, there was a massive stabbing incident at the mall in Sydney.
Oh, right.
Where Kate and I shop.
Yeah.
Okay. So Kate had dinner with some friends. They went out, and they were at this really fancy restaurant in the down in a city district called Barangaroo, and they were down there. And the mall at Bondi Junction, the Westfield store specifically, had an incident where a crazed psychopath went into the mall with a hunting knife, and began killing people with a knife. And he managed to get through 18 people total got wounded. I think like he slashed and cut and minorly injured a few people, but then he actually killed 7 people. And one of those people, 2 of the people that he stabbed, one was a mother with her 9-month-old baby. He stabbed the baby survived, lived through. They got the baby medevaced, and the baby survived through emergency surgery, but the mother died. And a Sydney police officer, a female, tracked him down in the mall. She was in the middle of trying to figure out what was going on, and tracked him down in the mall and shot him 3 times in his upper thoracic area and killed him right in front of the store where I bought my flip-flops. So there's that. So what that triggered, because I thought it could be a terrorist attack, and we also know that terrorist attacks often happen in multiple locations. They usually, if they're well planned and strategized, they usually like to hit a few different locations all at the same time, or
slightly delayed,
delayed, so that everybody's attention is on one thing. They get the attention gainer going on one side, and then they go for the big bang for their buck in another location. So I immediately was like, oh shit, we've got maybe a potential for some mass terrorist attacks happening right now because of everything that was going on and how wound up the world is with the whole Israel-Palestine thing. And realistically, there's a very large number of Muslim immigrants in Australia. There's a ton of them that live there. So I thought, okay, this is a reprisal attack on the infidel because of what is happening in Israel. So I fired up the phone. I'm blowing up Kate's phone because I just wanted to be was I worried that the fancy steak house that she was in the really fancy hotel in downtown Sydney was going to get attacked? Not necessarily, but I wanted her, in case the city went on lockdown or in case they were attacking other locations that were nearby, I just wanted to give her a heads up what was going on and make sure she was safe. And do you think she answered her fucking phone?
Nah.
Nope. I blew that son of a bitch up and nothing. So I had to call the hotel and have them send somebody to the restaurant who then called me back on my phone to find out what I wanted. And then I had to tell them, because I didn't know what reservation she was under. I was just like, hey, my girlfriend, Kate McLaren, she's in your restaurant right now. She's eating. I need you to go get her and have her call me immediately. So they did. And about 5 minutes later, she calls me and she's like, babe, what's up? Like, why do I have all these missed calls? And I'm like, of course, I had some colorful things to say about like not monitoring your comms and not paying the fuck attention to what you're doing.
Did you have a little meltdown?
I had my own little meltdown. Yes, I did. And I was like, I love you. Fucking pay attention to what you're doing on your way home. Okay? Keep your head on a swivel on the way home.
Do not go through touristy areas.
Yep. Do not go to any other locations. So
Don't take public transport.
Right. So that happened. And then there was another attack, another knife attack, like the night or 2 nights later in a church. Some dude rushed the church, the archbishop, whoever was given the
head pedophile.
Yeah, the head pedophile given the benediction that night, like got tackled and stabbed in the chest, and he ended up living. And his public statement was, I will say a prayer for my attacker.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, it's so sweet of him. Anyway, so that happened. And just like that just goes back to show people that like the Second Amendment is a good thing to have. Like it's good for your population to have guns. And it's also good for your population to have a really good idea on trauma management, which is what like I'm not under any false notion at all that there's going to be any type of legislation to promote, safe personal gun ownership in Australia. However, what I would say is that it is completely feasible and doable to have a trauma management, like a basic trauma management certification course for everybody. And I think we should probably do it too, but you should it's like getting your driver's license.
Or your CPR card or whatever.
Yeah, it's like getting your CPR card or your hunter safety card or your driver's license. Everybody should just probably know how to stop bleeding. Like everybody should probably know how to stop a massive hemorrhage, how to pack a wound, how to put a tourniquet on properly. Everybody, that's
and
just
it's not just for like stabbings and stuff. Like car crashes happen too, everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People don't realize that. They're like, oh, it's only for gunshots and stuff. I'm like, have you seen a motorbike dude slide across the pavement at like 60 miles an hour?
Yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah, and hit a guardrail and chop his leg off below the knee.
Fuck yeah.
Happens all the time.
Yep.
So, that's what I would say here. And like if you're one of those people, because we have our audience is huge, and we have people that download this podcast from all over the world. So like if you live in one of these countries, to include Australia, and you don't have access to, firearms to protect yourself or to protect your family when some psychopath decides to start stabbing people up in the mall, then at least know how to use medical gear and maybe carry medical gear on you. You carry your medical gear around with you. Some people in this attack died because
no tourniquets.
Nobody knew. The civilians that were there, that were the first responders before the police showed up, nobody knew proper triage or trauma management. So there was a few people that bled out because nobody had the equipment or the knowledge or understanding on how to save them. One guy though and this came out like the week after the attack. There was a guy that was in the coffee shop who was a lifeguard, and he did have a rudimentary understanding of first aid, and he was able to run out and go to a location where one of the victims was down, and he actually saved that person's life because he knew how to, from his first aid course from lifeguarding, stop bleeding.
Yep.
So he was able to help out, but there was a few people that died because nobody knew how to stop bleeding.
I mean, if I surfed in Australia, I would have a rats TK.
Right.
Fucking sharks and shit.
Yes. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, once again, people, everybody thinks America's crazy because of our guns, but how many people's lives could have been saved if they would have been able, a responsible armed citizen was in that mall. Like a dude like me, for example, that is highly trained and carries a gun every day and used to do it professionally for work and is a certified firearms instructor. If I was walking around that mall and I saw a dude pull out a knife and go after somebody, I wouldn't even wait for him to stab anybody. Once the knife's out, that's considered hostile intent, and he would have gotten gunned to the floor, and I would have shot him until he either changed shape or caught on fire.
But but they have mental problems, and we have to give them the right help. So we have to start with non-lethals and tasers and all the other things.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's the cop's job. My job as a as a responsible armed citizen is to, if I see somebody pull out a weapon or a knife and go after somebody, that's hostile intent, and I will just, because I'm not carrying a taser or a beanbag gun or any pepper spray, I'm just going to kick out my Glock 19 and put as many holes in you as I possibly can.
There would have to be many, many laws that would change in Australia for that.
Yeah, it's not.
You'd like save the day and save lives, and then like the city of Sydney would sue you.
Yeah, something stupid like that would happen. Yeah,
manslaughter.
Yeah, I mean, you're not. Like I said, there's no chance of that ever happening in Australia, probably. But you can train your people to like at a high level for first aid.
You can look online, and there's a lot of statistics of civilians shooting people that need to be shot and saving lives.
And saving the day.
Yeah.
Correct. It never gets publicized
No.
because our piece of shit media only wants bad news to go up so that they can be like, oh, look, we should outlaw guns because another crazy person gunned down a bunch of people.
And speaking of Pride Month, if the crazy gun person is part of the LGBT community, they don't mention it.
No, of course they don't. So.
But if you look at the statistics, they usually shoot less people because they suck at shooting. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. What was the lady that went into Google or whatever? Or Facebook? And
YouTube. It was YouTube.
YouTube? Mm-hmm. And like killed no one, but like fired off.
Fired off like a whole magazine of ammo. Shot one person, wounded them. I think she shot him in the leg someplace, and then ended up like panicking because she knew what was going to happen, and so she shot herself and killed herself.
Yeah. Pride Month, yay!
Also, yeah, Pride Month. And by the way, like while we're on that topic, like why the fuck do you guys need
a whole month?
A whole fucking month to celebrate who you fucking bang? Like, I'm sorry. Like, we're at the point where like. I'm sure does gay discrimination still probably happen? Is it still alive and well, just like racism in certain parts of the world or in this country? Yeah, I'm sure it is. But realistically, people, do we need a whole month to celebrate who you have sex with or celebrate the fact that you like to have sex with the same sex? Like, I think a day or maybe even a weekend is probably sufficient. Like, have your parade, have your celebration over the weekend. Like, let's make it like a Friday, Saturday thing. And then by Sunday, we're wrapped up and we're done.
Or like a long weekend.
Yeah.
Have a fun long weekend.
Yeah, and
I can support that.
Yeah, and it's not being...
That's great. I would go hang out with my gay friends on their like gay long weekend.
Correct.
For sure.
Correct. Yeah. I'm not... And so just to be clear, like nobody over here is anti-gay or like hates gays. Like there's none of that happening. I'm very... I would say centered in my position and my opinion around nobody's fucking special.
Correct.
So when I see a whole month celebration of like, or like, the same thing with like, this is going to be another hot potato, Black History Month. Okay. Spoiler alert. I'm not racist. However, I just think like, do they need a whole month? Could we maybe just shave that down to a week? Could we do like Black History Week? Maybe we should just like, everybody gets a week. I just think the whole month thing is just like over the top for everything.
For 1/12 of the year.
For everything. Okay? Yeah, you get 1/12 of the year to celebrate the fact that you have sex with the same sex, or that you are a black proud person that
was never a slave.
That was never a slave and wants to celebrate your history. Like, cool. Like, yes, black people are fucking awesome and they've done a shit ton of cool things across history. But like, do we really like... Okay. And if I want to really be an asshole and fucking advocate for my fucking community.
Yeah.
Which
you're allowed to do.
Which I'm very much like, we're not fucking special. Like, okay, cool. Veterans Day. Yep. Come up to me and be like, hey, thanks for your service. I'm going to tell you, thank you so much for telling me that. I was happy to do it. I would do it again. It was my privilege. And that's how I feel about it. It was a privilege for me to serve, so I don't think I'm fucking special. And so because I don't think I'm fucking special, I'm like, why do all these other cunts think that they're so fucking special that they need a goddamn month? Like, why? So if I'm going to...
They get 28 more days than you.
Right. So if I'm going to flip that...
You get Memorial Day and Veterans Day.
Correct. So if I'm going to flip that back around, like, maybe I need to be a cunt and I need to complain about why it's not Veterans Month. Veterans Awareness Month.
Yeah.
Because frankly, let's be realistic. We've done way more than the rest of you fuckheads have. Like we had to fucking go fight a 20-year war. And the dudes before us had to fight their wars. And realistically, it's what's preserved our way of life. So when we talk about a group of people having a whole month to celebrate who they like to butt fuck versus veterans who actually had to go do really horrible things in service of this country and keep our fucking way of life safeguarded and sustained. I'm like, yeah, I don't really see it really like rubs me the wrong way.
Pretty sure more veterans die daily than gay people that are born per day.
Correct. So, I mean, there's just that. I'm sure this is not going to be a popular opinion. Once again, people, not racist, not anti anybody, not racist. I'm not anti-gay. I don't hate anybody unless you're a fucking asshole or an idiot. Okay? So like the great...
Yeah, that's universal.
Yeah, great. So like the great Dr. Martin Luther King said, I judge a person by the content of their character and not the color of their skin or their sexual orientation. I don't really care about it.
Who cares?
I don't care. As long as you're not having sex with children, if you're one of those people, then I really feel like a bullet in your head is probably your best course of fixing that problem, okay? Because children are sacred and no one should be trying to have sex with children or change children's sexual orientation or their organs on their body that they were born with before they're 18 and they can make...
Or genital mutilation or any of that stuff.
Yeah, correct.
No go. Just don't mess with that.
Just don't fuck with kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, so... Yeah, that's kind of rubs me a little bit the wrong way. I'm just like, none of us are special. If you're going to be special, then cool. Let's have a special weekend. At most, a special week. And then after that, let's get back to fucking work. That's kind of how I feel about it. So, yeah. So there's that. What's next? I suppose we should probably read questions.
Yeah.
Okay. How do we even get on that topic? I don't even know. Did I tangent super bad? I don't even know how we got on that topic. Anyway.
Mr. Trevor Hill.
Oh, here we go. Yes.
Who would win in a fight between Dan Crenshaw and Nancy Pelosi?
How about, are these the questions that were asked on Instagram?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, Trevor, that question is the dumbest fucking question. And stop wasting my fucking goddamn time and my airtime on this podcast, okay? Like, this completely illustrates to me what's wrong with you. They're going to be like, Brian, where's your sense of humor, bro? Like, this is what's happening in our culture right now. Like, everybody has to turn everything into a fucking meme or a reel or some type of fucking joke.
It's so bad that everything is a joke so that we can cope with how bad it is.
Correct.
Yeah.
Who would win in a fight between Dan Crenshaw and Nancy Pelosi? Like, that just illustrates to me that you've had your fucking nose like death scrolling fucking memes for way too long. If that's the best question that you could come up with, I'm not even going to answer that question. Fuck that question. Next question.
Saint Angel.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Who's the sickest cunt you know?
Not you, motherfucker. That's my homie from over in Australia. Yeah, the sickest cunt I know. That's a good. I don't know who's the sickest cunt I know. Yeah, I don't know. I know that's a fucking boring answer, but
Steven Seagal.
no. Steven Seagal. No. Fuck that guy. Next question.
What state in the U.S. is most like Australia culturally, socially, politically, and places in the U.S. you want to visit that you've never been?
Ooh, who sent that one?
Saren.
Of course he did.
Yeah, see? Someone with a good question.
Our patrons always ask good questions. Okay, so the first part of that was, what is Australia most like? I would say Australia.
What U.S. state is most like Australia?
Okay, so I cannot speak to the entirety of the country. Based on the limited knowledge I do know, because I've just been primarily hanging out in Sydney and New South Wales, I would say...
Yeah, like you haven't spent time in the redneck, hillbilly parts of Australia, right? Yeah.
I have not, which is in Western Australia and the Northern Territory. And maybe in Southern Australia too. But realistically, I know every different province in the country kind of has their own little flavor. I would say Sydney, hands down, is like Southern California.
Oh, yeah.
Just like Southern California. Everything is nice and new. It's clean, and I know most of Southern California isn't like that anymore because of our open border situation and our fentanyl crisis. But realistically, it's like Sydney's kind of like a Beverly Hills probably like a Beverly Hills. Everything is nice and new. Everything's clean. They take good care of everything. Everybody's fit. Everybody really likes fitness. Everybody likes to stay nice and tan and fit. Everybody loves their cars. I didn't realize what a social status or social symbol cars are. Mm-hmm. Everybody loves their fucking vehicles. That's their thing over in Australia is cars.
Cars and boats, right?
Cars, boats, and watches for dudes. For girls, it's handbags. It's like how many fucking Louis Vuitton
That's
bags?
so materialistic.
I know. That's how it is, though. And that's why I'm like, oh, just like California. Mm-hmm. It's just like California. But I realistically, like, I can't blame them that that's their culture because they're really not allowed to do any of the fucking other cool shit that we get to do here. You know, like, you can't go fucking shoot some precision rifle on the weekends and then drive out in the middle
Right,
of nowhere.
but that's like any fad, right? Like, every dude spends their money on something, like some hobby.
Yep.
Whether it's guns with us
Yep.
or mountain bikes that are 10 grand a pop or motorbikes that are 15 to 20 grand a pop or their overland rigs or they're golfing or they're fly fishing.
Or like Nate with his like $40,000 worth of climbing gear.
Yeah, right. You know, like, oh, that's a dirtbag sport. And I'm like, you see all the money in that rack that they have in their shitty van?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, the reason they're driving a shitty van is because their climbing gear was $1 bazillion.
Yeah, and they bought it new this season because they go through it.
Yeah. I would just say, yeah. Easy answer for that is definitely Southern California. It's
Not Florida?
No. Florida's redneck. Yeah. No. I would say Queensland.
Florida's like...
Queensland's more like Florida. So like north up because like you
but like hillbilly Florida or like Miami, Florida?
both. Like because you'll have like Gold Coast, which is like super bougie, or like Byron Bay, which those are both like super bougie spots, but the outlying areas around those spots are very like, the Australian term for redneck is bogan. So like they're very bogan areas around outside where the bougie places are. So I would say like Queensland's more like Florida, New South Wales is more like Southern California.
Okay.
And the 3 places that I want to go in the U.S., like I think I've only not been to 4 states out of the 50. So I still need to get a good explore done of Minnesota. I need to get a good explore done of Wisconsin because I've not been to either Minnesota or Wisconsin. And then I need to go to Vermont and I need to go to Maine because those are the only 2 states on the East Coast that I've not been to. So, oh no, I'm lying. There's 5 states. I have not been to North Dakota. I've not been to North Dakota. I have not been to Minnesota. I have not been to Wisconsin, Vermont, or Maine. So I've been to 45 out of 50 states. Those other 5 are the ones that I have not been to yet because realistically, like I have had 0 reason to go to any of those places because, well, I don't know. I guess this is just the fucking asshole in me. I live in a really fucking cool place. I like to adventure around the western side of the United States because I've spent a good deal of time in the South. I've spent a good deal of time on the East Coast.
Yeah. West Coast.
I have no reason to spend any time in the flyover states like Iowa, Ohio, any of those states. Like I've been to them. I've driven through them very quickly because there's really 0 going on there. There's a reason we call them a flyover state because there's 0 things happening in those places. So, yeah, I have not. I've driven through those places very quickly, but have not spent any time there and have no desire to because I just am very comfortable in my existence over here in the mountain states and western United States.
I mean, I still want to go to Alaska.
I have flown through Alaska. I've had layovers in Alaska, but I've never made it out into the great wild of Alaska. So I definitely want to do, like, it's on my bucket list to do a caribou hunt in Alaska at some point. So I would say that's probably my answer to that question.
Oh, I'm in the, like, can I just, like, hop on the heli at the end of the day and, like, go take a lap? Because I hear that that's doable. If you know the right people, you can just hop on the employee heli.
Go do a lap. Go do a little ski lap in the Valdez.
We know the right people, so.
I'm going to.
That's on my list.
Are you ready for a refill on your, what are we doing, Angel's Envy now?
I've had 2 refills.
Okay, well. Drinking whiskey here, people. Talking about super important things, like where we like to go skiing. All right. Next question.
This is from Ball Bull. Jocko war crimes debate going on. Marines coming out on it. We all know Chris Kyle was a psychopath. Not much a question, more a statement.
Okay, Ball your bull. I like this dude. Spoiler alert, he's one of our patrons. He's also Irish. And he's also liberal as fuck and has like all kinds of crazy fucking opinions on things. That's okay. We still love you, bro. There's room for everybody at this table. I'm super grateful to have you. I love debating you. Mainly I love gaslighting you for fun because you fucking get really fucking bent out of shape. I love to troll our patron Ball your bull here. Yeah, so let's touch on that. First of all, bro, you're a little bit late to the party. All of this like fun Navy SEAL fucking drama was happening like 3 weeks ago? 2 or 3 weeks ago.
It's been years.
I mean, all this has been years in the making. Okay, so let's just go ahead and address my favorite topic, which is
Navy SEALs.
Navy SEALs and how much they suck. Okay, like first of all, I'm not a across the board SEAL hater. I do have SEALs in my life that I can name on one hand that I actually really like and think are great dudes. And I just actually met one. My friend Nick Betts, he is starting a podcast called The Hot Wash. And his co-host is a Navy SEAL. And I got to meet him this last weekend when I was out staying at Nick's house. And he's actually a really great dude. I got along with him, and he was just an awesome guy. I don't know, he's just a super kind, happy dude. There was like zero dick energy in him, zero ego in him, which is really, really unusual for SEALs.
I mean, we both met SEALs in the same time span.
Yeah.
That seems solid.
Yeah.
We took one out for our backcountry veterans thing.
I forgot about that. Yeah, Green Devil.
Yep.
Green Devil.
Green Devil
I'm
Garage.
excited to meet him.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to meet him. And you had a fantastic experience.
Yeah, I spent a week like showing him around with Cam, and we had a great time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just probably...
And he corroborated a lot of things that I was like, is this really how it lies? And he's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
there's bad apples in every bunch.
Yeah, so let's just call out the big 1,000-pound gorillas in the room. Okay, first of all, let's talk about Operation Red Wings and the whole, like, Luttrell fucking situation. Okay, because here's what's happened, people. A Navy SEAL, I think he's either a warrant officer or officer, and his name's Eddie something. He was on the Anti-Hero podcast.
Mm-hmm.
He came on the Anti-Hero podcast, and he just has had it with his community and had it with all of the hero worship around some of these situations that unfortunately the civilian populace was not privy to. And he fucking dumped out the trash can.
Yep.
And now that information is public knowledge. It's out on open source, and there's really no hiding from it.
Yep.
I mean, unfortunately, if I was Marcus Luttrell at this point in the game, I'd probably go and fucking climb. I'd find the deepest, darkest hole in Texas I could find, and I would crawl into it and probably never come out. My opinion on that operation, I've kept it in my pocket for a really long time. I was still on active duty when this happened, so I got to see the official military AAR from the operation, and immediately could draw my own conclusions about what happened and have carried around my opinion in my pocket for a really long time. Because my personal opinion on it is like, even though I know what happened because I read the official intelligence after action.
It leaked.
And because I know dudes in the community, in the Naval Special Warfare community, that actually told me what happened like years ago. We're talking years ago, like right after this situation happened, in the wake of it, like end of 2005, 2006, like dudes were telling me what happened back then.
Yep.
And my opinion on it is like, well, I'm not a SEAL, and I'm just going to keep my opinion to myself because I'm not a part of that community, even though I know what happened. And what happened was they made really bad decisions. They went into a AO that was really sketchy and super high mountain terrain, and they knew that enemy forces in the area were, they were outgunned and outnumbered in that area. It was a Marine AO. The Marines told them to be careful going in there, and of course they were like, yeah, whatever, we've got this. And they were an SDV team. And I don't know how SEALs are task organized, but I'm like, why are you sending dudes that are fucking submarine drivers into a fucking AO to conduct reconnaissance? But maybe that's like an ancillary duty they have. I don't know. Maybe like recce is the other thing they specialize in, like land recce and driving submarines. I don't know. Anyway, they went on this operation and they did not equip themselves properly. For starters, they didn't equip themselves properly. Like, you're going to go into the enemy's backyard where you're outnumbered and into difficult terrain, and you're not going to take a belt fed with you, and you're just going to take fucking SPRs. That's it. You're not going to take a belt fed with you.
But Mark 12s are so hot right now.
Mark 12s are so hot. It's the hotness. They were hot back then too. Okay, so yeah, there's just some
with comms problems in an AO that no one wanted to go to, and a mission that a bunch of other units all turned down because it was too sketchy, and they decided to go.
Well, the risk versus reward wasn't the ROI wasn't there for what they were trying to do and what they were trying to accomplish, but they went up there anyway. Then the whole decision-making matrix where they decided they got compromised by these
Goat herders.
goat herders from this hostile village.
Which apparently happens way more often than you hear.
Yes. So, I mean, it was happening back in the day during the Gulf War in 91 with Bravo 20.
Yep.
Like Bravo 20 got compromised by a goat herder in Iraq and started that whole big gunfight. But realistically, like, they got compromised, and instead of like taking those people into custody and gagging them and flexi-cuffing them and marching them along with them, they elected to let them go. And they ran right down the mountain and notified the bad guys, and the bad guys mobilized. And then here's the other thing that I don't understand is, like, instead of breaking contact and going to a defensible piece of terrain where you can get good communications, you've got excellent fields of fire and observation, they elected to try and run down the opposite way into shittier terrain. And so the bad guys were able to maneuver into a place on top of them. Okay? I mean, that's land warfare reconnaissance fucking doctrine 101. Like, you're operating in a small group, you're in bad terrain, get to the highest point where you can, the most defensible point you can get to. Like, you don't want bad guys coming around and getting on top of you. And you don't want to be trying to fight uphill. Everybody knows that fighting uphill is a losing endeavor. So the fact that they didn't break contact, move to the highest and most defensible piece of terrain possible, like,
where they would have better comms,
right,
and they would have a chance of a crazy helicopter pilot coming to get them.
Yeah, and it keeps the bad guys from being able to spread out and maneuver on you and close with and destroy you if you're holding the key terrain. So this whole thing, so I have lots of judgment around that whole thing, and as this guy confirmed coming out, like, they have Predator drone feed footage of Luttrell basically in the opening moments of the engagement running for it. He just straight up fucking ran for it. And I know a medic that helped recover him and treat him, and they got their hands on his gear, and all of his magazines were still full. So there's that. When a retired SEAL officer, or I think he's a warrant officer, I'm not exactly sure, go check out the Anti-Hero podcast. He's on there. I think his name's Eddie or Ed, something or other. I suppose we could look it up. Maybe post it. We'll maybe post it, and we'll post the link or something to that podcast in the description. But go check it out. So there's that's being heavily contended right now. Most of us in the industry and in the community have known for a really long time that that's what has happened. I just have never made a public comment on it until now because I didn't feel like it was my place, and realistically, like, I got better things to do. But yeah, that's out.
I will caveat that
that's
every
out in the open
source that I've talked to has mentioned that every other person on that fire team is fucking solid and a stud.
Yeah.
It was just Marcus.
Yeah. Which is why the rest of them died in place.
Correct.
And Marcus ran like a fucking coward.
Yep.
So
that has nothing to do with Ball Your Bull talking about Jocko, but
no, we're getting to that.
Oh, okay.
We're going to get to that. Okay. So yeah. So then the whole, on top of this, like, you know, everybody, like, the whole war crimes thing has come out, and like, I'm just going to tell you, my philosophy and doctrine on fighting warfare is a lot. I have more of a Genghis Khan approach to fighting warfare, where I'm like, the war crime thing, like, your whole mission in a war is to go kill the other team, kill them as violently as possible, and just either kill them and wipe them out, or basically psychologically fuck them into submission. So I have my opinions on, like, this whole, like, you have to fight a war fair, and that's not fair, and you got to be a good guy because we're the good guys. Like, there is no good guys in war. There's no good guys in war. There's just not. You're there to fucking kill people, period. So the whole, like, I always tread really lightly with the whole, like, war crimes thing, because I'm like,
like, maybe don't film yourself peeing on a body.
Yeah, or fucking piss on the fucking all of those motherfuckers. Who cares? But, like, realistically, yes, you're right. Don't film it and put it on the internet. But, like, who cares that a fucking Marine sniper is fucking pissing on some fucking dead fucking bad guys? Like, who gives a fuck about that? It's war. It's fucking war. Oh, he desecrated them. Fuck them. They were just trying to kill him fucking minutes before that. I don't care about those things. Like, I think it's fucking stupid. I think anybody that tries to come up with, like, a rule book on how to properly be the good guy and fight a war in a gentlemanly fashion is a fucking idiot. I just think you are. Sorry. Especially if you've never done it. Tell you what, go fight a fucking war. Go do 9 combat deployments and fucking kill people at bad breath distance that are trying to kill you, and then come back and let's have a conversation about how you feel about fighting a war fair. It just doesn't compute in my brain. So the whole fucking like, war crimes thing, I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. But the fact that like people are like, you know, I listened to Jocko's response, and I listened to his 2 podcasts where he responded to this scenario. And here's what I would say. I would say many truths exist, and there are many shades of gray, and fog of war is definitely a thing. Do I think that like Jocko was like condoning war crimes? Absolutely not. Do I think that his enlisted guys were doing things in the battle space that he didn't know about or that they weren't reporting? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
You know why? Because I've fucking done it. Okay? I have fucking been like, oh, there's bad guys there. Oh, they're armed. Oh, they're getting ready. They're fucking digging a hole inside the road and they're getting ready to put an ID in. Do you think I call that in and fucking, this is hate breed. Permission to engage. No. You know what I'm like? I'm like, and then I call it in. I'm like, oh yeah, we just engaged 4 armed individuals on the side of the road in placing an IED. Because by the time your request goes up to headquarters, and
goes up to 3 people.
Goes through the 3 people it needs to go through, and there's some asshole officer that's like sitting back there in fucking Bagram or wherever the fuck, drinking coffee. You know, I know what
But are they Shia militia? Are they Sunni militia?
Yeah.
Or are they our guys? Are they cousins of our friends? Are they?
Yeah, no. Sorry, if you're wearing chest racks and you've got AKs and there's 3 or 4 of you and you're digging on the side of the road with a backpack that's got a fucking milk jug full of homemade explosive in it that you're putting in the side of the road to like destroy one of our Humvees, I'm going to kill you, and I'm not going to fucking ask anybody's permission. Like, I know what our ROEs are. I know what I'm legally supposed to do and not legally supposed to do, but I don't have time to call up to fucking higher headquarters to ask some jack-off officer that's sitting around drinking coffee and probably watching Pornhub if I can fucking kill bad guys. I'm just not going to do it. So I think realistically, probably the truth of the situation is, you know, we're fucking, you know, his guys in the battle space fucking putting the hurt on people and not reporting it. Probably. Were they armed? I don't fucking know. I wasn't there. Okay. And what are these? Yes, some Marines have come out. And I would say the report that I saw was from a Marine officer who I think was a fucking company XO, who really, the way he wrote his statement sounded like a fucking SEAL hater to me, or a dude that fucking hates special operations forces, which there's a lot of those in the Marine Corps. Just in the Marine Corps in general, we have our own fucking, we call them haters. The haters. The haters are the guys that fucking hate anything that's not dress right dress, that's not fucking Marine Corps doctrine, and that is not organic to a Marine infantry battalion. So like, they hate recon. They hate force recon. They fucking think all those dudes are cowboys. They think snipers are cowboys.
Because they're dirty in these.
Yeah, because we're fucking out in the field actually schwacking dudes, and they're fucking jealous of that. So I think realistically, like, I think the truth of the matter is like, Jocko probably did a really good job in a fucking hyper-violent part of Anbar province. And just having, you know, the knowledge that I have had from fighting in the Battle of Fallujah, like what he was up against in Ramadi, I can completely sympathize, and it like resonates with me when I like listen to his like podcast. And I encourage all you guys, if you have any questions about this, go listen to his podcast. I don't know exactly which number it was, but he replies to all of these accusations of like war crime stuff. And so like Chris Kyle, I don't know. Chris Kyle's dead. Nobody can ask him. But, you know, do I think a sniper, you know, part of a sniper's mission is to create psychological effects on the battlefield and to, you know, basically strike terror into the hearts of the bad guys? Sure. That's definitely within the sniper charter. So were things happening in the battle space that weren't being reported? Sure.
Always.
Yeah, always. It's definitely...
You just can't.
You can definitely set your watch to the fact that it's happening. So
now, are these war crimes the same way, like, you've taken that trench in Ukraine and now you're, like, having all these people and questioning them, and then that you give them a cigarette and then you shoot them in the back? Like, no.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't condone that, but I also understand that. If you're talking about individuals that represent an army that maybe fucking raped and murdered your family members, I can see maybe why you would fucking exterminate them. Because I would. If somebody fucking invaded my country and
I'm specifically talking about the dude that was smoking the cigarette, the Ukrainian. However, I have seen videos of Ukrainians schwacking the shit out of unarmed Russians. So
right. Well, yes, the Russians fucking were doing the same thing, which is why you have that issue over there. But if you think of like an invading army, coming in
Oh, yeah.
and raping and murdering the female members of your family and executing maybe your grandfather in the front yard, like shooting your grandfather in the face in the front yard, and then the whole squad taking turns on your mom, your sister, your cousin, your aunt, whatever, and then killing her, and then burning the house down on top of everybody.
While stealing your, like, dishwasher.
Yeah.
Washing machine.
Correct. Then, strapping your family washing machine to their fucking armored personnel carrier. Like, if that type of shit is happening, you can bet your ass I'm not taking any prisoners.
Yep.
If you murdered my fucking family and I'm like on the run defending the fucking my basically the sovereignty of my country and like trying to just survive in a non-permissive environment with an invading army that has got no rules and they murdered my family, yeah, everyone dies. I don't think that's really up for debate. I mean, realistically, like if you're a grown-ass man who would tell me that like, oh no, I would just they raped my mom and murdered her and burned our house down. But you know what? I believe in rules of war and I would not want to violate the Geneva Convention. So I would turn them over to the appropriate authorities. Get the fuck out of here, pussy. You shouldn't even be fucking fighting the war.
No, they should just turn the camera off.
They should have fucking taken turns on you.
That's all I have to say is just don't have it on record.
You're not even a man. If that's what your thought process is, like, you're not even a man. So, yeah, the whole war crime thing with Navy SEALs, like, there's lots of fucking information out there. Go listen. I would encourage everybody to listen to Jocko's podcast for more clarity on it and just understand that, like, Jocko was the fucking ground force commander, but he had a lot of super talented frogmen with him that were out in the battle space actually doing the work. And do I think everything got reported? Probably not, especially in a fast-paced, hyper-kinetic, super violent environment where you've got massive amounts of lead, explosions, fog of war happening. It's really easy for fucking two people. Like, I've been in firefights before where, like, there was 4 or 5 of us involved, and we came back and did the after action, and everybody had a completely different perspective and different story.
Yeah, it's usually the case with high-stress environments.
Yeah. Like, I've been, like, screaming fucking things in my buddy's ear for him to, like, maneuver or shift or move, and he was so stressed and tunnel visioned, he literally did not hear. I'm, like, right next to him screaming at him. He did not hear a fucking thing I said. And in the after action, I was like, bro, I was telling you to shift right so that I could get a better angle and, like, have better supportive fire for you. And he was like, what? I was like, I was screaming at you to shift right. And he was like, bro, I didn't even fucking hear you. So fog of war is a thing. Fog of war is a thing, and it's really, really easy to get things mixed up or fucked up. Because I've had, in my personal experience, 4 or 5 dudes involved in one situation, and everybody had a completely different story at the AAR. So there's that. Once again, war, people. Unless you've experienced it firsthand, tread lightly with your opinions. And that's all I would have to say about that. Next question. Let's go, producer.
That was about it.
Oh, was that the question?
For Instagram, that was it.
Oh, that was it for Instagram. Okay, let me pull up then. I'll go in the Patreon group thread on Signal, our Signal group thread. Okay, here we go. One of our patrons, he wants me to rant about RFK. Because everybody was talking, of course, about political candidates in the group thread, and somebody was talking about how fucking awesome they think RFK is. And now, here's what I'm going to say about this. I like his position on government accountability, small government, and the shit that he basically, all the shit that he, basically all the dirty laundry that he dumped out regarding Fauci. I love that. I loved listening to what he had to say in terms of, like, you know, everything that happened during the pandemic, what a fucking piece of shit Fauci is, and, like, all of that dirty laundry that he dumped out. I like what he has to say about, like, making, like, small government America first, like, rebuilding our infrastructure. But where he loses me in 2 places. One, and I don't know where I can't remember. Somebody sent me the link to the article, and I read it, and somebody interviewed him recently, and he said that he would support an assault weapons ban. Okay, right there, done for me. You don't fuck with my Second Amendment. Like, you're just, like, that's the fucking linchpin that keeps the whole system in check and running effectively is the Second Amendment.
She's a 10, but...
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Politically, he's a 10, but...
Yeah. So the fact that he admitted that, like, that's done for me. Like, he was saying all kinds of great things. He's very supportive of the veteran community. He's very supportive of, like, pushing the agenda for use of psychedelics for trauma management and trauma treatment, which I completely 110% back up. So like I loved what he was saying in terms of some of the things that he was talking about were hot button topics for me, and I really liked what he had to say about it. But then when you turn around and later on down the road, right before the election, you're like, oh, I would support a weapons assault ban. Like, really, bitch? Did you really think you were going to sneak that in and nobody was going to notice it? Like, you were just going to
last minute,
like sweep over the top of that? Fucking.
Well, to be fair, a lot of people will miss that. So
yeah, no. So he did say that he would endorse an assault weapons ban. So no, fuck you. That immediately terminates you as my candidate. And then the other fact of the matter is he's very, because of what's happened in his family history with his uncle, old JFK, and his dad, Robert. Like, his dad and his uncle got murdered, and word on the street is it was the CIA. That's completely unsubstantiated or validated, but, they refused to unseal those records.
Right.
So, those records.
So telling.
Those records were supposed to be unsealed like 5 years ago, and they keep like making them, they keep resealing them. So I would have probably my scientific wild ass guess in there is that there's probably something in there that they don't want John Q. Public to know about. So he's got a bone to pick with the CIA, and he's also openly admitted like, oh yeah, I would disband the CIA. And I'm like, bro, there is way better government organizations to disband other than the entity that like has all
in charge of secrets.
Is in charge of like keeping our country safe at like very high levels. So like they're the eyes and ears, and they don't always do a great job, and they're a super bureaucratic organization too. I know this because I've done subcontract work for them, and I've also had a lot of friends that have done work with them on very high levels. And so like I know the ongoings over there, and like any government organization, it definitely has its drawbacks and its faults, and it is a bureaucratic organization just like they all are. But realistically, like it's a huge fucking mistake to pull our eyes and ears out of the rest of the global race for resources on the planet, or the early warnings for enemies that might be planning stuff to, conduct attacks on our soil. So like pulling the plug on the CIA and disbanding them, I don't think is in our country's best interest.
Now, if you wanted to restructure it for certain things,
if you wanted to restructure it, maybe update their mission.
Because like every government organization, it could always be better.
Right. Like if we're gonna get rid of shit, let's get rid of the ATF. Okay, those dog killing sons of bitches. Okay, let's get rid of those guys. Okay,
first.
Now, this may be a contentious topic, but I'm gonna say maybe or just retailer their mission and just keep them around specially to fucking handle explosives. Okay? Because you know what? I don't need fucking my next door neighbor to have fucking access to fucking as much dynamite as he thinks he might want to stockpile and put it right next to my house. Like I believe that yes, there are certain things, explosives being one of them, that probably need to be fucking monitored and handled. However, if my neighbor wants to have like 6 belt-fed machine guns, fucking go for it, bro. Fucking all day long. I will come over and help you shoot them. Okay, so like, you want all the fucking belt feds? Go for it. You want to stockpile fucking old sweaty fucking dynamite in a Connex container right next to my house? Probably I don't like that, and I probably would not be in agreement with that. So yeah, maybe we keep them around just to manage explosives. John Q. Public probably doesn't need access to explosives, but especially since explosives are not. I mean, it's not stipulated. Owning explosives is not stipulated in the Constitution, whereas bearing arms is stipulated in the Constitution.
Explosives could be arms.
Okay. Yeah. Well, guess what? When we need those type of tools, I feel confident that I would know how to procure them. So until then, I don't need to own a bazooka or an RPG or an AT-4 or a fucking 60 millimeter mortar. I know how to get those things when the time is right.
What's the argument? Like, if you don't trust yourself with it, then why would you trust someone else with it? Like, I don't trust myself. If I had a fucking 60 mil mortar right now, I don't trust myself to put that mortar in a place that is safe.
Right.
I'd be like, ka-thunk. Mm-hmm. Oh no, it's windy. Oh, my math was off. There goes the neighborhood.
Right, correct.
You can shoot a belt fed into a backstop all day. It'd be 100% safe.
Let's just keep in mind that like the other ingredient that made our country great was in fact alcohol. So imagine combining alcohol and maybe like a Carl Gustav rocket launcher. I mean, we've seen like what Americans are capable of on 4th of July weekend with just fireworks.
blowing their hands off. And
Right. Blowing their hands off and shit. So do we...
Or the stupidity that's ensued with Tannerite.
Yeah, correct. So do you really think that Americans should have fucking access to bazookas and rocket launchers and like javelins or mortars? It's probably not a good
I mean, even if they could afford it.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe let's keep the ATF around to manage that, the explosives part of it. But really, like, they can fuck off for everything else. Okay? So I feel like there's way better government agencies to monitor or to restructure or to disband entirely other than fucking the CIA. So, realistically, like, no, RFK, like, is a massive failure in my book, and I just don't. Plus, he's like, here's my thing that I keep going back to. Like, none of them are good. None of them are fucking good. Like, Trump is not good. Biden is not good. None of the presidents that we've had, like, have been really good. Like, I don't know in my lifetime where I've been like, that dude was fucking rad. What an amazing leader, man. He really turned things around. He really made a huge difference. He really fucking got our country on the straight and narrow. Like, the only one that I could really go back to, but I was a young kid at the time, was probably Ronald Reagan. He, like, ended the Cold War, got the Russians to tear down the Iron Curtain, ushered in a whole new era of peace and cooperation between us and at the time, the Soviet Union. So, like, maybe on the grand scale of things, like, I was too young to understand what his domestic policies were. So, like, maybe his
foreign policy was great. And
his foreign policy
was Watergate and a bunch of other shit.
Yeah, like, there's a bunch of fucking bullshit that happened. So, like, I was too young to understand it. So, you know, other than fucking Ronald Reagan and some of the speeches that he gave were some of the most patriotic shit that I've ever heard a president say. So that's why he resonates with me. But once again, I was a young kid back when he was president of the United States. Like, I was like 5 or 6 years old, maybe 7 years old when he was president. So that's a little too young to really have a great grasp on like socio-political and geopolitical performance of a president. But as an adult, I can look back on the last 20 years and be like, yeah, there's not really that impressed with any of these fucking dildos. So, so yeah, that's where we're at with the whole RFK rant. I hope that sufficed for my patrons. Okay, let's see what else we got. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, he said, in Jeopardy format, what are drawbacks to RFK becoming president? I replied with, I'll take seditious thoughts for 1,000, Alex. He liked that. He thought that was funny. Okay. Joe asks, what are 3 things people aren't doing that they should be? Not subject specific. Oh, I mean, that's a really broad question. 3 things that people, I mean, who the fuck am I to be telling people? I'm not some guru. I'm not sad guru.
You're not Jocko?
I'm not Jocko.
You're not playing leadership after one deployment?
Right. I'm not beating my chest about combat leadership because I only did one deployment.
Where certain other people said that you got certain other people killed.
Correct.
Yeah.
We already talked about that. You missed the boat.
You didn't. You didn't mention that.
Listen, we've already bypassed that subject, so we're gonna keep moving down the track here. We're already at like a minute or an hour and 14. So like, let me see here. What are 3 things people aren't doing? I don't know, because I'm not I don't consider myself a guru. If you want my opinion on it, what are 3 things that people aren't doing that they should be? Okay, well here's a couple. Okay, like, stop eating garbage and work out, and it's great for your mental health. Like, you don't need to be a bodybuilding stud, but it's good to go out and get a juice burn once in a while, and like, it really massively improves the quality of your mental health, believe it or not. So maybe go out and just work out just to get your headspace straight. Take your sleep seriously. Practice some biohacking. Like, if we want to talk about the 3 things that I'm like really like into, like, one of them is biohacking. Like, I love like watching like, who is it? Gary Brecka. I think it's Gary Brecka. Yeah, Gary Brecka. And you can look these people up on the internet. Like Gary Brecka. Ben Greenfield's one of them. And I think those are just the top 2. I think there's another guy, but I can't remember his name. So anyway, these people, like, they do weird, crazy shit. Like, Ben Greenfield's like putting IR lights up his nose and red lights on his balls. And he's mixing all kinds of herbs and crazy shit together to, like, I don't know, increase his testosterone like 3.777%. I don't know. He's doing crazy stuff. But I'm like really nerding out on like all of the advancements in sports nutrition and sports science and, you know, biohacking to basically make you a healthier, better version of yourself and increase your, you know, your longevity and how long you live. So like, I'm just cursed. So I already know that because whatever God exists that's out there fucking hates me, and he's going to make me live on this fucking plane of existence for as long as he possibly can. So I know I'm going to be one of those like Gran Torino motherfuckers that's like sitting on the front porch at fucking 101 years old, fucking with my M1 or my M4A1 in my lap.
80-year-old M4.
Yeah, my 80-year-old M4. Another thing too. Okay, so like this is also huge. So I have been doing a lot of research lately on my other least favorite government entity besides the ATF, which is the IRS. Like, fuck them. Okay, the amount of fucking tax code that we have and the amount of taxes that we like get taxed is astronomical. Like when you go back to what the founding fathers intended and like how our country became a fucking country by basically going to war over a 2.5% or 3% T-tax and an attempted weapons confiscation by the British. We went to war over that, and we killed the fuck out of those dudes, and we fought a lengthy war, and we won our independence, and we became a country. And now, we had no income tax. There was no IRS until I think like 1915. And then we started collecting taxes to support the war effort in World War I. But then it was supposed to go away. Like as soon as the war was over, the taxes were supposed to go away. But by then it was too late, and the government got a nice taste of like how awesome it is to have money coming in.
We can fund everything.
We can fund everything we want. So they just chipped away. And I think they passed several measures that were repealed by the Congress, because back then we didn't have career politicians that were cock-sucking scumbags.
Because you didn't live till 70.
Right. Because you didn't live till 70 back then. Yeah, he didn't live till 81 to be president back then. Mm-hmm. So you just, but in 1965, they somehow got the tax code and the IRS stood up and they made it stick, and they've just been increasing our taxes and writing new tax code more and more and more and more as time has gone by. And now here we are. And I would say some of the things that really burn my ass about the tax, all of it burns my ass, because it just like, we shouldn't be getting taxed at the level we're getting taxed at. And we should not be, I'm a full on like taxation is theft dude. That's me. Okay. I do not support the level of taxation that happens in this country in any way, shape, or form. So what I've been doing is I've been doing a shit ton of research and finding lots of gurus all over the internet that have really good educational platforms on the tax code. So there's a reason why elite wealthy people are elite wealthy people, and it's because they know how to fucking take that tax code and they know how to basically
play the game.
They know how to play the game. They know how to exploit the loopholes, and there are loopholes in the tax code. There are lots and lots of loopholes in the tax code. So I've been researching all of this basically on how to avoid getting massively raped on taxes. So I would say, if you're asking me, the three things that I think people need to start doing, like explore your level of happiness, because you're only here for a limited period of time, and you are not here to pay bills and pay the IRS. You're not here to pay taxes, pay bills, and provide, a high quality of life to other people in your family while you suffer. Okay? So take a look at the quality of your life, take a look at what you're doing with your life, and make some changes to it. If you're not happy and you're not living your dream, or you're not pursuing your dream, find out what your dream is and then figure out how to free yourself enough financially to get to where you want to be, or to accomplish your goal, or to chase your dream. I live debt free. I have no personal credit card debt. I have credit card debt on my companies because that's what it's for, getting points and shit like that. Like we have a credit card debt to run companies, but I don't have personal credit card debt. My truck is paid off. So I also don't, currently I'm not renting anything, and I own property, so like I have assets and I have resources, and I live debt free. So like my money goes really far. And also like moving overseas and spending half of my year in a country where the tax rate, or not the tax rate, but the exchange rate is awesome, and my money is worth way more, like as my friend Nick Betts says, like make dollars, spend pesos. So like, yeah, that's something to take a look at, So I would say take a look at that as as a person, take a look at what you're doing, the trajectory that your life's on. And if you're not happy and you're completely miserable and you sit in your car at the beginning of every day, like trying to find the motivation to like turn on the ignition and drive to work, or turn on the ignition and drive home to now deal with your miserable home environment, like start dealing with that. Start attacking that, start dealing with it, start figuring out what you need to be to free yourself from those, whatever chains are binding you currently. Take a look at your health. Start doing biohacking. Start figuring out like maybe drinking less and exercising more. How can you live longer? How could you live a higher quality of life? And then thirdly, like how to retain more of your money, like start looking into researching how to, structure whatever you're currently doing to manipulate the tax code so that the tax man doesn't get to take 33 to 42% of your money every fucking year and then give you back like 0.5%.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, your tax return. It's the biggest fucking scam on the planet. Oh, we're going to take 42% of your money and we're going to give you back like 0.5% or 1% of your money at the end of the year. And you think that that's a good deal? And what is our tax money going to? What is it funding? Okay. I don't want to fund gender studies in fucking Pakistan. I don't want to fund a war in Israel. I don't want to fund a war in the Ukraine. Okay? I understand why all that's happening.
I don't want to fund Palestine while we're funding a war with Israel.
Right. Correct. I don't want to be funding us building a fucking pier to fucking feed Palestinians and Hamas, because that's what will happen. Hamas will come down and take
steal it off
the fucking people. They go down and they rape and pillage it off their own people. Like, do I think like it's cool like to take care of fucking innocent people that are caught in the middle in the battle space, like the innocent Palestinians and their kids? Sure. But that's not the reality of what happens on the ground. The reality is Hamas will come and fucking steal whatever supplies they want off of the civilians that collected it, and they will use that as aid to feed themselves and first aid to care for their...
to sell it back to the people they stole it from.
Correct, yes. But then they turn around and take that money and buy weapons and equipment.
Somalia playbook.
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what Farah Aidid did.
Yeah, correct. So I don't want to fund any of that. I don't know about you and the rest of my fellow Americans that are listening to this. I don't want to fund any of that. I don't want to fund this stupid, special interest bullshit that our money gets stolen and used to, basically facilitate these lobbyist groups, special interests. All these special interest groups can go the fuck away. All right? All this, we need term limits.
I would actually feel better about taxes if they let you pick where it went.
Yeah, but there's no fucking chance. They can't steal your money and give it to their fucking buddies if they...
Right, but imagine if the system worked and you could be like, actually, I want these to go to better roads in my state. Yep. And the money actually went there. Or like, you can write what you want it to go to. You're like, I want high-speed rail.
Yeah. I want a high-speed rail system. I want better public transportation.
I want healthcare that actually works.
Yeah, I want healthcare that actually works.
I want you to like just pay whatever tax to this school in my district.
Yeah.
So that the teachers aren't spending their own fucking money to buy color pencils and textbooks for their students that don't want to be there anyway.
Correct. Yeah. So I would say that, people. I would say take a look at your trajectory in life, adjust it, problem solve it to get to where you are happy, okay? And I would adjust things. I would look into biohacking, and I would look into how to beat the tax man. Those are my top 3. Okay. What's next? I think we got a couple more here. Oh, Frank. What's Frank had to say? How do we remove the bad apples, even if Trump gets elected? Okay, well, you don't. You don't. I mean, yes, you can, but it requires massive amounts of violence and fucking murder.
And
so
then there's no end to it.
Right, and then there's no end to it. So, like, how to remove the bad apples? I mean, in our current system, I mean, that's up to... I mean, here's the thing, though, is bad apples are subjective. Because bad apples are... if you're an opponent of the current political system that's in charge. So like right now, the Democratic Party is running the country. So if you're a Republican, you either have to bend the knee if you're in a government institution and probably keep your political opinions to yourself inside the workplace so that you can survive, and vice versa. Like if the Republicans are in charge and you're a Democrat, you probably have to keep your fucking opinions to yourself and bend your knee so that like you can survive and not get fucking fired. So how do we remove the bad apples? I mean, how do we know who the bad apples are?
You remove all the lobbying. You remove all the donations.
Yep.
Every single government worker's record should be open domain.
Yep.
They should have a salary cap. They should not be able to invest for the entire time that they're in service.
Right.
And those are just a few of the things that cover all sides.
Yeah.
That would be probably a net positive for the citizen.
Yeah, and you have to pass a mental and medical screening in order to be fit for service to be the president. We can start with that. Also, we should probably have an age limit on who can be a senator, a congressman, or a president. And we should definitely have term limits. Like, term limits should apply. There should be an age cap. I completely agree. Like, no more investing. If you're a congressman or a senator,
you don't get to invest in NVIDIA.
You don't get to invest in the stock market
at all.
So, yeah, do your time, serve your constituency, eliminate special interest groups, eliminate campaign donations.
Yeah, no more lobbying.
Yep, let's get rid of all that shit. Okay, and then you'll probably see some honesty start to return,
right.
Trickle back in, and this place will be run in the way that it was intentionally designed to run, instead of the bastardization and the manipulation that it has endured and suffered since.
And not only that, like, I get that our election cycle is in 4-year increments, right? That also means our country only thinks ahead for 4 fucking years.
Correct. Meanwhile, the Chinese are like
100 years ahead.
Chinese are 100 years ahead of us.
They have like 10-year and 50-year plans.
Yeah.
We have a 4-year plan, maybe.
Yeah.
And we restructure everything after. It's so stupid.
It is so stupid. Speaking of, the book that I've just been talking about since we started this fucking podcast 2.5 years ago, Stealth War, by General Spaulding, Robert Spaulding. Sean Ryan got him as a guest on the podcast. So if you like Sean Ryan's podcast and you want to hear this guy that wrote this book that I basically been talking about for like the last 3 years, and especially on this podcast about the Chinese the Chinese strategy with dealing with America, he ran the he ran the China desk under the Obama administration at the National Security Agency. Or no, not the National, that's the NSA. That's our signals intelligence. A National Command Authority. I don't know. One of the national offices, he ran the China desk. So he is really well versed in all things China and wrote this really great book, which I read like 4 or 5 years ago. And he was finally on the Sean Ryan podcast. So I encourage all of you guys to go check that podcast out. Once again, we're just trend setting over here. Okay. Ivan, what's the biggest achievement you've done so far? Come on, Ivan. Can't you come up with better questions? Your questions are always fucking lame as fuck. My biggest achievement is my son. Hands down. Like, becoming a dad was one of the fucking most awesome things that I ever fucking did. And then my ex-wife fucking ruined it. So, that was my greatest achievement. My son is my greatest achievement. Other than that, like, I don't know. I really couldn't tell you. I don't think anything that I've done is really that fucking cool. So, love my patrons. Okay, so here we are. We're at 1 hour and 30. We went 30 minutes over on this Weapons for Wednesday, but it's okay. We were due. We missed a few episodes in between our globe-trotting operations, so it's fine. Welcome back, people. We're going to get back after it, okay? So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Wherever you're at on the globe, thanks for joining us for this latest episode of the Lone Element Podcast. We look forward to you showing back up for another episode next. I don't know if it's going to be next Monday. I don't know when it's going to be because we've got a lot going on still. So
tune in,
people. Stay tuned. Watch the Instagram. Watch your feeds. We'll let you know. Until then, peace.
Anyone who runs is a BC. Anyone who stands still is a well-disciplined BC.